The air on the Whitmore farm was different that September. Dry, still, too quiet. Anna stood at the edge of the porch, one hand clutching her shawl, eyes scanning the soybean fields swaying under the golden light. A season was ending, and something else was just beginning. Something she couldn't name yet, but she could feel it down to her bones. Daniel came up behind her, kissed her cheek lightly. "You're up early again," he said with a tight smile. "Worried about the harvest?" She shrugged. "Can't sleep. Thought I'd take a walk." "You were sleepwalking again last night," he said, a little too quickly. "You really don't remember?" "No," she said, though a flicker of doubt rippled through her. "You sure I wasn't just in the kitchen?" "You were outside, barefoot," he replied, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Standing in the rain. Anna, you need help. Maybe just a checkup. You haven't been yourself lately." She pulled away slightly, not enough to offend, just enough to mark the distance growing between them. "I'll think about it." Daniel exhaled and nodded, stepping back. "I only want to help." Later that afternoon, Anna called Grace from the barn, her phone pressed against a wooden post to get reception. Grace answered coldly. "Hi, Mom. Let me guess. He said you're crazy again?" Anna sighed. "I'm not crazy, I found something strange." Grace didn't laugh. "Again?" "It's my tea. There's powder in it. Something that isn't tea." "Don't drink anything he touches," Grace snapped. "I told you." Anna hesitated. "I need proof. I need to be sure before—" "You want to wait until he has you committed?" That word froze Anna. Committed. She ended the call soon after and stood alone in the barn, her mind racing. If she confronted Daniel now, he'd twist it. If she stayed silent, he'd keep pushing. That evening, she walked into the bedroom to find the dresser drawer open, the one where she kept the deed to the farm. The papers were gone. Her heart thudded. Daniel was in the shower. She quietly opened his briefcase, tucked under the bed. Inside, she found a manila folder with 3 things: a new power of attorney document with her forged signature, a property sale agreement, and a list of realtors. She sat down on the edge of the bed and clutched the folder, her hands trembling. The manila folder sat in Anna's lap like a living thing. Every fiber of her body screamed at her to run, to drive to the sheriff, to burn the documents, to confront Daniel. But she knew none of that would help unless she had more. Much more. The next morning, she walked into town with a woven basket of eggs on her arm, pretending nothing was wrong. Everyone knew her as the quiet widow-turned-wife who still canned tomatoes and baked pies for the Methodist fundraiser. No one asked about her bruised wrist last spring. No one questioned why Daniel had taken over the accounting at the farmers' co-op. But one person might listen. At the hardware store, Anna pretended to examine a line of chicken feeders until the clerk behind the counter stepped away. She edged down the aisle toward the back storage room where she spotted Owen Tucker, the store's part-time clerk and retired deputy. A wiry man in his late 60s with kind, careful eyes, Owen had always been polite to Daniel, but never quite warm. Maybe he saw through him, too. "Owen," she whispered, "can I ask you something? Privately." He raised an eyebrow, then nodded. "Sure thing, Anna." They stepped into the utility room. Fluorescent light flickered above. She looked around and lowered her voice. "I think someone's drugging me, and I found a forged power of attorney. I need help, but if I go to the police without more, he'll twist it on me." Owen didn't blink. "You think Daniel's behind it?" She nodded slowly, lips tight. He crossed his arms. "You got a doctor you trust? Not the one he'd take you to." "I used to see Dr. Winchell in Clifton before I married Daniel. She was my family's doctor for years." "You go to her," Owen said. "Tell her everything. Ask for a blood test, and don't tell Daniel. You need a record started by someone neutral." Anna looked down at her hands. "Can you hold on to something for me?" she asked, pulling the folder from her bag. Owen took it, flipping briefly through the contents. His brows furrowed. "You weren't imagining this. I need to know what else he's doing. Can you look into him?" "I'll do what I can. Quietly." Anna left the store with a bag of nails and a faint pulse of hope. That afternoon, she poured her tea down the sink and refilled the canister with plain chamomile she bought from a friend at the market. If Daniel noticed, he said nothing. The next night, Anna waited until Daniel was asleep, then crept into the mudroom and opened the fuse box. A small camera, no larger than a hummingbird, was tucked behind the breaker panel. She'd never seen it before. A sick feeling bloomed in her chest. She unscrewed it from the wall and tucked it in her pocket. Her hands were shaking. The following morning, she called Grace again. "I found a camera in the fuse box," she said. "I think he's recording me." Grace's voice dropped. "He's building a case, Mom. He's going to claim you're paranoid." Anna nodded silently. She knew it. She felt it every time he smiled too gently or offered her a drink she didn't ask for. "I have to get ahead of him," she said. "I need to know everything." Grace exhaled on the other end. "Tell me what to do." And finally, Anna said, "Come home." The day Grace arrived, the sky broke open with rain. Anna watched her daughter's dusty silver sedan pull up the long gravel drive, windshield wipers flailing. For the first time in years, Anna opened the front door before anyone knocked. Grace stepped out with a single duffel bag and tired eyes, her long coat sticking to her legs. She looked thinner, sharper. "You sure you want me here?" Grace asked, voice low. Anna nodded. "More than ever." Inside, Daniel was at the kitchen table nursing a cup of coffee and pretending to be surprised. "Grace," he said smoothly. "Well, this is an unexpected visit." "I'm sure it is," Grace said, brushing past him. Anna held her breath, but Grace didn't start a fight. She had promised, quiet, careful, smart. Later that night, once Daniel was in the basement, fixing the sump pump, Anna and Grace huddled in the mudroom. Anna showed her the camera she'd found and whispered her plan: to visit Dr. Winchell the next morning and finally begin building the legal defense she might one day need. "You think he's listening?" Grace asked, glancing up. "I think he's watching more than listening." "We need a sweep. You can't stay here like this." Anna hesitated. "If I leave, he'll say I ran. That's what someone unstable does." Grace exhaled slowly. "Then we find the rest of the cameras." The next morning, Anna faked a grocery run and drove straight to Clifton, a small town 40 minutes north. Dr. Winchell's office hadn't changed in 20 years. The same pine-paneled waiting room. The same receptionist who used to give out lemon candies. Anna sat on the exam table and told everything, slowly, carefully, tearlessly. The doctor took notes in silence, her brow creased. "Do you feel in danger, Anna?" "I feel watched, and I feel like he's waiting for me to lose it." Dr. Winchell ordered a full blood panel, including toxicology, and documented Anna's mental state as alert, rational, and consistent. "If he is poisoning you," she said gently, "we'll know soon." Back home, Grace had searched the house while Daniel ran errands in town. She found a second camera behind the bookshelf in the den and a third inside a smoke detector in the hallway. "He's building a case," Grace whispered, "like you're a danger to yourself." That night, Anna placed her own small notebook inside the fireplace grate, just under the camera's view. In it, she wrote calmly, "I am not confused. I am not erratic. I am being watched, and I know it. If this ends badly, know that I was never unstable." The camera blinked red. 3 days passed. Every hour stretched like string pulled too tight. Anna pretended to live her usual life, folding laundry in the den, stirring soup in the kitchen, walking the edge of the orchard at dusk. Daniel watched her like a man waiting for a pot to boil over. Grace, pretending to be visiting for a short break from work, kept herself useful and quiet. She cataloged every corner of the house, under the sink, behind the mantel, inside smoke detectors. 6 cameras in total, all removed, all destroyed. Grace wrapped the memory cards in aluminum foil and buried them in the compost pile. Meanwhile, Anna stared at the phone, willing Dr. Winchell to call. The call came on a Wednesday morning. Anna answered in the garden, hands buried in wet soil. "Anna," the doctor said, "we found traces of lorazepam, multiple doses. Do you have a prescription?" "No," Anna said quietly, heart pounding. "I don't. I've documented everything. If you need a full report, I'll have it ready." Anna's throat tightened. "Thank you." That night, Daniel made lamb stew. He served her first. She waited until his back was turned, scraped the food into a napkin, and dropped it down the garbage disposal. She no longer trusted anything he gave her. As she rinsed her plate, Daniel leaned on the counter behind her. "You seem steadier," he said, voice like syrup. "I'm trying to take better care of myself," Anna replied calmly. "Less caffeine, more rest." He smiled, but his eyes didn't. "That's good to hear. I worry sometimes. I've noticed things, you know." She turned and looked at him full on. "I'm not a child, and I'm not losing my mind." He chuckled softly. "Of course not." Anna walked out of the kitchen, forcing herself not to look back. The next afternoon, Owen called from the store. His voice was lower than usual. "I found something," he said. Daniel had another name before he moved to Virginia. Went by Douglas Kane in Ohio. Changed it legally in 2014 after a woman accused him of coercion and fraud. She dropped the charges, disappeared. Anna sat down on the steps of the barn. Disappeared? No trace. No family came forward. Cops called it voluntary, but it smells wrong. I'll keep digging. That night, Anna brought the folder Owen had returned and laid it out on the kitchen table, while Grace kept lookout from the hallway. She added Dr. Winchell's report. She labeled every page. She typed a summary. She made 3 copies and sealed them in envelopes. 1 for Owen. 1 to mail to a lawyer in Richmond Grace knew. 1 to keep in the attic under the floorboards. Later, Grace leaned against her bedroom door and whispered, "You ready for what comes next?" Anna nodded. "He wants a breakdown? I'll give him one, just not mine." On Friday morning, the bank called. Anna answered in her calmest voice, still clutching a kitchen towel in one hand. "Mrs. Whitmore, this is Cheryl at Highland County Trust. I just wanted to confirm. Did you authorize a wire transfer from your savings account to a business account under the name D&J Property Holdings?" Anna's heart jolted. "No," she said. "I didn't." There was a pause. "Well, it was scheduled yesterday afternoon. Your husband brought in paperwork, said you'd signed it." "I did not," Anna said, her voice rising. "Do not process that transfer. I'm on my way." She hung up and shouted for Grace. In 10 minutes, they were in Grace's car, driving into town with the envelope of documents. Forged signatures, the toxicology report, even a copy of Anna's original will. Grace had called her friend Marla Jennings, a junior attorney in Richmond, who agreed to meet them at the courthouse annex. At the bank, Anna met with the branch manager and presented her ID, the medical evidence, and a clear statement. "My husband has been drugging me and attempting to steal my farm through forged legal documents. I am filing a formal fraud complaint." The transfer was halted. Back in the car, Grace turned to her mother. "That wasn't just a test run. He was going to do it." Anna nodded. "It's happening. We need to move faster." Marla met them in a small conference room at the courthouse. Her blunt haircut and fast-typing fingers gave Anna a kind of hope she hadn't felt in weeks. "This is already more than enough to file for an injunction," Marla said. "You can petition to freeze joint assets, lock down the deed, and file a restraining order on suspicion of fraud and abuse." "But I'm still in the house with him," Anna said. "If I make this official, he'll know." Marla looked up. "Then we file at night, and we serve him in daylight." They arranged for papers to be drawn up by Monday. The clock was ticking. Back at the house, Daniel was in the garage, oiling the chainsaw. He looked up and smiled thinly. "Went shopping?" "Ran into some issues at the bank," Anna said, watching his face. He didn't flinch. "Must be a mistake. Want me to take a look?" "No," she said, steady. "I've got it." That night, Anna found her phone dead. Not just the battery, wiped. Her contacts, messages, photos, gone. Grace's too. Even the cloud accounts were locked. The passwords had been changed. "He's shutting us down," Grace whispered. "We need burner phones. Now." Anna stood in the dark hallway and felt the walls close in. She thought about the barn, the attic, the cellar, places without eyes. She whispered to herself, "He won't get away with this. He won't." Grace drove to a gas station 2 towns over just before dawn. She paid cash for 2 prepaid phones and a roll of duct tape. Back at the farm, She and Anna set up the phones in silence, registering them under fake names. One was hidden under the false bottom of the tea tin, the other sewn into the lining of Grace's overnight bag. They didn't speak unless the radio was on. Music gave them cover. A normal life soundtrack. Anna kept humming Patsy Cline to avoid screaming. That same morning, Marla texted from a secure number. Court papers ready. Judge signed emergency order to freeze joint assets. Temporary injunction approved. Next step, process service. Anna stared at the words. Her hands trembled. It was real now. Tomorrow morning, she said to Grace, he gets served. They didn't have to wait long for Daniel's next move. That afternoon, he came in from the fields with blood on his hand. Barbed wire, he said when Anna asked. Stupid of me. He was unusually affectionate, kissed her cheek, offered to cook, smiled like a man who'd won something. Then, at dinner, he casually mentioned, I was chatting with some folks in town today. Heard a funny rumor that you and Grace were at the courthouse, filing something. Anna nearly dropped her fork. Must have been someone else. Must have, he said, still smiling. But just in case. Should I be worried? Grace stared down at her plate. Anna met his gaze. No, Daniel, you shouldn't be worried at all. That night, Grace moved into Anna's room and locked the door. Anna kept her bag packed. They slept in shifts. Owen called at midnight, voice hushed. Got a contact at the sheriff's office in Ohio. That woman? The one who vanished? Her name was Lorna Page. Worked in real estate. He got involved with her, then drained her joint accounts. When she tried to report him, she suddenly relocated to Canada. Only no passport activity, no driver's license change. She just disappeared. Case never went anywhere, no family pushing for it. Do you think he... I don't know, Anna, but she's gone. And if he feels cornered, you might be too. The next morning, Daniel didn't show up for breakfast, or lunch. His truck was gone, no note. Grace was uneasy. You think he knows? He knows something, Anna said, but he doesn't know how much we do. Marla sent the process server by 10 a.m. Daniel wasn't home. They left the notice taped to the front door. By 5 p.m., he still hadn't returned. And then, just after dusk, Anna opened the barn and found the generator running. Inside, the walls were lined with boxes she didn't recognize. Files, hard drives, old computers, hidden assets. But the worst was at the back of the barn. A shallow pit had been dug, just deep enough for a person. Anna staggered back, breath caught. Grace ran to her. What? What is it? Anna whispered. He was planning something final. Grace didn't sleep that night. She sat with the shotgun across her lap, back against Anna's bedroom door. The house was dark, but for the nightlight in the hallway and the humming of the old fridge. Anna sat upright in bed, blanket clutched, listening to every creak. He planned to kill you, Grace said quietly, her voice a raw thread. That pit? He was going to put your body there and claim you wandered off. Mental breakdown, remember? Anna nodded slowly. And he probably had footage, me wandering at night, talking to myself, drugged out on pills I didn't take. But we got ahead of him, Grace said. He's scared now. The next morning, Owen arrived in an unmarked pickup truck. He brought a portable scanner and a set of gloves. We need to know what's on those drives, he said. Anything that ties him to Lorna, or to what he was planning here. They carried the boxes from the barn to the house one by one. Laptops, flash drives, old paper files, and several black plastic binders. Grace set up her computer at the dining room table while Owen examined a ledger scrawled in tiny print. One flash drive contained a folder labeled Transitions. Inside, spreadsheets, timelines, photo logs, and surveillance footage. There were images of Anna, sleeping, cooking, standing barefoot in the yard at night. Some had dates. Others were labeled Phase 1, Sedative Adjustment, Phase 2, Confusion Logs. Grace covered her mouth with her hand. He was documenting your mental decline like a science project. Another folder was labeled Kane Page Settlement. Inside were PDFs, including a typed letter addressed to Douglas from a legal assistant at a now-defunct law firm in Ohio. It referenced a closed case. There was also a scanned handwritten letter from Lorna, begging him to leave her alone. Owen took photos of everything with his phone. "This is more than enough to start a formal case. We take this to the Richmond State Attorney's office, not just the local sheriff." Anna sat in silence, one hand clenched around her teacup. "We have to assume he's coming back," Grace said, "but not for a conversation." They installed a security camera on the porch and rigged the barn with a motion detector Owen pulled from his attic. Anna called Marla with the updates. "We have documentation now. Can we tie this to the fraud case?" "Yes," Marla said, "but this is also criminal. You need protection. Do you want me to request a police watch on the property?" "No," Anna said after a pause. "Not yet. If he knows we're scared, he'll move faster. I want him to think we're holding still." That evening, just after dark, the motion detector tripped. Anna and Grace watched from the upstairs window. A figure stood near the barn, just for a second, then vanished into the woods. Anna's phone buzzed. A message flashed across the screen from an unknown number. "I warned you, Anna. Now everything burns." Anna barely slept. She lay stiff beneath the quilt, her eyes open in the dark, listening for the smallest creak. The air in the house had changed, charged, expectant, like the air before lightning cracks the sky. By morning, Grace had printed copies of every document and video. They drove the flash drives to Owen, who passed them on to Marla. She called from the road within hours. "I'm taking it straight to the state attorney's office. No delays. This goes beyond fraud. He's unstable. He's a predator." Back at the farm, Anna sat at the kitchen table staring at her old wedding ring. It still sat in the tray beside the sink, a token of the lie she'd believed in. The second chance that was never real. Grace kept watch from the upstairs window. Around noon, she spotted fresh tire tracks on the far side of the property, in a place Daniel used to park when he didn't want to be seen. The tracks led into the trees, stopped abruptly. No sign of him, no footprints, just the flattened grass where he had stood. "He's here," Grace said. They locked every door, shut every curtain. Anna called Owen, who brought 2 deputies to patrol the area discreetly. "No sirens, no warnings. If he's watching, we don't tip our hand," Owen told them. That night, the power went out. Just after 11:40 p.m., the entire house went black. Anna and Grace froze. Then Grace grabbed the flashlight, clicked it on, and it immediately flickered, then died. The backup lantern in the pantry was gone. "He cut the power," Grace whispered, "and he's been in the house." Anna held her breath. "He's trying to terrify us." A sound, a soft clatter, came from the barn. Grace gripped the shotgun. Anna held her phone in one hand, dialing silently with shaking fingers. Owen, straight to voicemail. Then a bright glow filled the window, a bloom of orange light. "The barn!" Grace gasped. "He lit it!" They ran to the front porch. Flames climbed high into the air, licking through the roof of the barn like it was paper. Sparks rained upward into the night sky. The dry autumn wind fanned it fast. Anna screamed and ran to the yard, but Grace grabbed her. "No! That's what he wants! We have what we need! The evidence is out!" By the time the fire department arrived, the barn was gone. Everything Daniel had left behind, the binders, the pit, the generator, even the camera system still wired in the rafters, incinerated. Owen stood beside Anna, jaw tight. "He's trying to erase it all, but it's too late. We've got it copied." But Anna wasn't crying. She wasn't panicked. She was cold, quiet. "Next time," she said, "he won't just burn a building. He'll come for me." The day after the fire, Anna and Grace packed their bags. "Only what we need," Anna said, calmly, as if preparing for a trip and not fleeing her home. "Everything else can be replaced." Owen met them at the edge of the property. "You're staying at my place tonight, then we'll reassess." Deputies now patrolled the property every 4 hours, but Anna knew it wasn't enough. "He won't show when they're here," she told Grace. "He'll wait. He knows how to disappear." They stayed in the guest room of Owen's ranch house. It smelled like tobacco and old cedar. That night, Anna stared at the ceiling, sleepless, while Grace's breathing beside her rose and fell with uneasy rhythm. The next morning, Marla called. "The Commonwealth Prosecutor's Office has accepted the case. Full investigation is open. They're pulling Daniel's history, both identities. Lorna Page's name is officially on the report. Anna felt a flicker of relief, but it was brief, because that afternoon a letter arrived. No envelope, no stamp, just tucked under the windshield wiper of Owen's truck. In Daniel's handwriting, "You burned it all, Anna. You think you won. But you forgot one thing. This farm? It was always mine the day you said I do. You just didn't see it." Grace read it twice, then crumpled it. He's unraveling. Anna, for the first time in weeks, smiled. No, he's losing. Owen gave the letter to the sheriff, who sent in a forensic team. But Anna had a stronger idea. "Let him come," she said. "Let him make the mistake." They returned to the house that night, not because it was safe, but because it was time. They set up security cameras in the trees, one hidden in the shed, two inside. A deputy waited in an unmarked car just off the road. Grace took the upstairs bedroom. Anna sat alone in the living room, lights off. One lamp glowed dim in the hallway. She didn't hear him come in, but she felt it. A shift in the air, a movement not hers. He was standing in the doorway. "You should have stayed gone," Anna said softly. Daniel didn't speak. He stepped into the room, slowly, like he owned it, like he always had. "You dragged me through this hell," Anna continued. "You used my name, my home, my life, and now it's slipping away." Still, no words. He stepped closer. That's when the back door opened. Grace stood there with the deputy behind her, weapon drawn. "Don't move," the officer barked. Daniel turned, startled. The red dot of the taser danced across his chest. "You always underestimate women," Anna said. Daniel lunged, but not for them. For the fire poker by the hearth. The taser fired. He dropped like a sack of grain, twitching. The room filled with shouting, radio static, handcuffs. Anna sat very still. Only when the cruiser pulled away did she let the tears come. The courtroom was quiet as Anna stepped to the witness stand. It had been 3 weeks since the night Daniel was arrested. He sat behind the defense table in a crisp orange jumpsuit, looking smaller than she remembered. Smaller and somehow less dangerous. Not because he wasn't still capable, but because she was no longer afraid. "I trusted him," Anna said, her voice steady. "And he used that trust to try and erase me." She described everything in clear, plain detail. The drugging, the forged documents, the cameras, the erased phone data, the pit, the fire. She left nothing out. Grace sat in the front row beside Marla. Owen leaned on the aisle railing, nodding at her whenever she looked his way. She wasn't alone anymore. After the testimony, the prosecutor laid out the full case: financial fraud, identity deception, attempted destruction of evidence, stalking, unlawful surveillance, and attempted assault with intent to harm. Charges were stacked, with possible federal implications given Daniel's use of false identity across state lines. The judge denied bail. The trial was scheduled to proceed with a full jury in 6 months, and the court granted Anna a protective order that spanned the length of the proceedings, and beyond. Afterward, standing outside the courthouse steps, Anna took a long breath of winter air. Grace placed a hand on her back. "You did it," Grace said softly. "No," Anna replied. "We did." A week later, Anna filed for annulment, citing fraud and endangerment. The farm deed was resecured in her name alone. Marla helped draft a revised will, one that listed Grace as sole heir and detailed every account, every acre, every asset. No more secrets, no more blind trust. The farm itself needed repairs. The barn was gone, but a neighbor down the road offered his crew to help rebuild. Anna refused insurance money for now. "We'll do it ourselves," she said, "brick by brick, just like Mom and Daddy did." One morning in late January, a call came from Ohio. A retired woman named Elaine had read about Daniel's arrest in an online legal bulletin. "Lorna Page was my cousin," she said. "We thought she'd just run off, but she would have never left without telling me. Not for this long." Anna listened carefully, asked questions, and then connected Elaine to Marla. It turned out Lorna had filed a restraining order against Daniel under his alias months before her disappearance. But the small-town sheriff's department hadn't pursued it after she left voluntarily. Anna sat by the fire that night, Lorna's story echoing in her mind. Daniel hadn't just hurt her, he had a history. And now, finally, he would face it. The trial was still ahead, but she no longer felt helpless. Every day, the fear lessened. Every morning, the sun rose a little warmer over the fields. She now walked without looking over her shoulder. Grace had decided to stay. Just for a while, she'd said. But Anna knew better. They were no longer just mother and daughter. They were survivors, partners. One Sunday, Anna stood in the doorway of the half-rebuilt barn. She looked out over the land, hers, still hers, and whispered, "You almost took it all, but I'm still standing,